What's up, guys, and welcome back to Skins in the Game. We got J-Dubs here. How you doing today?
Doing good. It's hot down there. It's hot in the hot tub.
I hear you. It's been hot a little bit up here, too, especially like the last few days. Like, we've been doing this. Get into my what do you got, but it's definitely been hot for sure. Well,
Yeah,
we got episode 59 here, so that's cool. But what's up?
No, I was just going to say, I went golfing this morning and literally baked. It was like low to mid 90s, and there was no breeze at all in the course. And it was like, I felt like I was being sauteed.
Oh, that's. I'm sorry, but hey, at least you're golfing though. So good for you. Well, we got some stuff to talk about. Obviously, mini camp just got started, so we'll talk some mini camp. Ron with Jack will finalize that kind of stuff. Warren Stapp came to practice today, so maybe the D line will learn something. Terry not at camp, even though last week Ron said he thought he would be at camp. Logan talked about his injury a little bit more, and talk about AGG moving to tight end, how that's going. Curtis still being pretty protected. We'll talk about that a little bit. And then Diami and Jamin, the two rookies last year, first and third round picks respectively. We will talk about how they had some lack of confidence. But as every week, we're going to start with Dad Joke of the Week.
All right, let me make sure I say it correctly. What do you call a cow with no legs?
Ow.
Ground beef.
There you go. Ground beef.
By the way, before we move on, I just want everybody in the chat to know that I am the only person here that cannot actually put comments in the chat area.
Oh, yeah, that's what you were talking about that. Like, you don't have I can. I know. Did, right?
You and everybody else. So I, as the guest speaker here, cannot participate. That's why I'll interrupt when I want to say something to somebody out there.
Yeah,
I have to stop and say it because
if you open another window, though, and then log into your YouTube and then go to the stream, you could type that way.
Oh, if I had to go to all that trouble.
What up, Pat? What up, Bod? How's it going, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
All right, Dad, what do you got this week?
All right, well, first of all, I want to let everybody know that I'm heading out to Ohio tomorrow. I will not be here next Wednesday. I know Tim knew that, but I don't know whether you're going to have a show with somebody else or you're just going to take a week off, but I will be out of commission next week. I will be traveling I'd say many thousand, but it's many hundreds. It's a couple thousand, but I'm going to be traveling a long way. So I will be out of commission next week. Now, as far as what do I got? And I'm not sure if we covered this one before. I like to do useless trivia, and I like to make you use your brain to try. But there is 4 players all time in the NFL that have at least 20,000 all-purpose yards.
At least 20,000 all-purpose yards. There's 4 players.
There is 4 players. Would you care to guess?
All right, so B. Mitch.
He's number 2.
Jerry Rice is number 1.
Jerry Rice is number 1.
And then this is where it gets definitely a little bit more tricky, I got to think. 4 people over 20,000 yards.
Yep. Assuming my information is correct, but I believe it is.
Yeah, like because there's like some people like you would like to guess, but they didn't play long enough to get there, right? Like Calvin Johnson or Barry Sanders, or I think even Jim Brown retired early too, didn't he?
Yeah.
So those 3 would not be on the list.
Barry Sanders doesn't even have 16,000.
Yeah, because he only played 10 years, but so he averaged 1,500 yards a season, which is insane. But he only played 10 seasons. So after that, I'm definitely going to struggle. I'm gonna guess Larry Fitzgerald. He played a long time.
Nope. And I don't think you're going to get him. You got the top 2, so I don't know if the exercise and you trying to guess him because I don't think you're going to get him.
Okay, go ahead. Who do you got?
I wouldn't get him, but it's Walter Payton.
I should have gotten that one. That's one I should have gotten, but okay.
Yeah, and then the other one is Emmett Smith at 21,564.
Emmett Smith.
So just to round it up at least 18.5, you got Frank Gore, Darren
Yep.
Sproles, Tim Brown.
Darren Sproles, he had a lot of return yards then too, I guess, huh?
Yeah, 19,696 he was.
Wow.
Marshall Falk,
Oh,
and
okay, that's a good one.
this is one that was kind of surprising. Steve Smith Sr. has over 19,000 all-purpose yards.
He played a long time there in Carolina.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed he would have been top 10 though in yards. That is interesting because I don't think he did any returning. I think that's mostly just receiving yards.
I think it is. So Larry Fitzgerald is in tier 4 at 17.5 and change.
Mm-hmm.
Marcus Allen, Adrian Peterson,
Mm-hmm.
Herschel Walker, Barry Sanders was at tier 4 at.
You haven't said
18.3.
LaDainian Tomlinson yet. I would have thought he would have been up there.
He was in tier 4. He had 18,456.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear that part, but yeah,
So
LaDainian Tomlinson was the guy that was coming to my mind. Walter Payton, I probably should have got, and then Emmett Smith. I'm not surprised, but I just wasn't thinking Emmett Smith at all. But okay.
Well, he played a long time too, but he didn't do anything other than running back, right? He never returned anything that I can think of, like any kicks or
Emmett
punts
Smith.
Yeah.
No, I think it was just running back. Yeah, he must have just played a long time. Yeah, over 20,000 all-purpose yards. That was the question. There's 4 guys over there. It was Jerry Rice number 1. It was B. Mitch number 2, Walter Payton number 3, and Emmett Smith number 4. So now I got that stored away. Let's see if I can remember that.
I'll ask you again a month from now.
Yeah, see what happens. No, it's funny.
I'll recycle my what do you got and see if you're paying attention. But anyway, right. So what do you got?
What do I got? Well, I had some sad news of my wife's grandfather passed away a little over a week ago. And so we had the funeral the last 2 days. The viewings and stuff were on Monday, and the funeral was yesterday. And he was a huge sports fan in general, big baseball and football fan. So me and him talked a lot of football whenever I saw him, especially early on when his dad was going through cancer. His dad, the grandfather, Pop that passed, was there all the time. So I got to know him quite a bit. But what's more interesting is the priest he's Catholic, or we're Catholic, I should say. I'm also Catholic, but anyway, and Dad's Catholic too. So we're all Catholic here, but there's a Catholic priest at Mount Calvary, which is right next to McNamara there in Forestville, that he is a huge Washington Redskins fan. And I'm going to say Redskins because I don't know if he's a Commanders fan because all he was wearing was a bunch of Redskins gear. Okay. And I'm telling you, Dad, underneath his priest robe, he would wear Redskins hoodies, Redskins pajama pants, and you could see his shoes. They were basically big slippers. And I'm not talking like, if this is the size of his foot, the slippers like a mound over his foot that are big burning gold Redskins logo on the side, and he is doing this up on the altar, doing the whole thing, giving the communion and the whole nine.
I wonder what he was doing Sunday afternoon. Yes, yeah. I'm praying.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So I thought that was a lot of fun to see.
No, that's cool.
I always knew that he was a very eccentric priest. I've heard about him that he's. You know what's funny is you look at him, and he was a nice guy, great priest. It seemed like if you looked at him without his priest robes on, just his Redskin stuff, and see him walking around, he walked like a limp. You could not distinguish him between him and the homeless in DC. Like it was hilarious. So, but no, very, very cool to see. But yes, rest in peace, Pop. It's, he was 84, so he lived a nice long life. But it's always sad to see somebody go. But it was a very nice service, and so that's what I got for this week.
I'm sad. I'll say prayers for the family. I did like Bodhisattva's comment. Did the priest go into a bar?
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, no, that's funny. Did the priest go into a bar? Well, there you go. All right. Rest in peace, Pop. So let's go ahead and hop in to this stuff. Warren Sapp came to practice today. I always thought that was awesome news. Maybe we could actually teach something in the D-line room. What do you think about Warren Sapp coming to practice?
Oh, I have no problem with that. I don't know if we talked about. I think it was last year with Oh my God, number 99. Why am I drawing a
Chase Young.
total blank? Thank you. That Charles Mann
Mm-hmm.
said was interviewed, and he said him and Dexter Manley would come out to practice and work with the line at no charge.
Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised that the Redskins, for whatever reason, didn't take him up on that.
Uh-huh.
But I see you're joking or laughing at the comments, but
No, yeah,
no,
I'm just throwing them up there as you're talking. But no, you're good. Keep going. Yeah,
no, no.
talking about the yep.
But so yeah, Warren Sapp, great. I would have liked to see him have. I mean, if you look back on what Charles Mann did
Mm-hmm.
and Dexter Manley when in the Redskins glory days,
Mm-hmm.
I would have liked to have them there. But anybody with experience that's willing to go in and work with the defensive line, I'm 100% behind.
Mm-hmm.
And however Warren Sapp ended up there, great. I don't know what relationship he has with
Yeah, one
Ron
of
Rivera.
the defensive coaches. I don't think it was actually Ron Rivera. I can't remember now which coach. Ron said it. I should have wrote it down, but I didn't. But one of the coaches used to play with him, and that's how. And it's not Davis Mills, the defensive line coach. I think it was somebody Jeff, and I can't remember off the top of my head. But somebody used to play with him, and that's how he offered him to come out, and Warren Sapp accepted.
Well, good. I will take whatever experience. I mean,
Yeah.
Warren Sapp was a great player. So, and it doesn't always translate between being a really good player and being able to teach somebody else how to be a good player. But I don't think it can hurt in any way. So I'm all for it.
Yeah, no, I loved it. And I also liked what he had to say. So I was reading an article, and he basically was giving them some advice as far as the players, the defensive line. And he said the worst 3 words in football is "we got it" or "I got it." Sapp said, he said, "You ain't got she in this game. You got to work on it. That's all you can do." And it reminded me, I played tennis in college, and I walked on. I never played I played tennis as a kid. I think Momo used to take me to like lessons when I was like 7,
Yep,
8,
I remember
9.
that.
Yeah. So, but there was like a 10-year gap of me not playing tennis, and I walked onto the tennis team because they needed some players. It actually got shut down after my junior year. There was like 4 seniors on the team. They all left, and they're basically like, "Yeah, we're done. We don't want Tim to be our best tennis player. That's not going to happen." But
By the way,
yeah.
sorry, before you move on, to everybody in the chat, I saw a picture of the tennis team. Tim did not fit in with all the other tennis players.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
A football fullback coming in and playing tennis. Yeah, it's not right, but it was fun. But anyway, my coach, he was really trying to work on with me and my buddy Woody, who also was not very experienced in tennis. And like every time I made a mistake, he would come up and start to correct me, and I'd be like, I know. And like he finally interrupted me. He goes, "Stop saying that. Clearly you don't know." Like he got like a little mad. It's like, you don't know what you're doing. Just stop. Stop saying that. I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach you. And like, not that I wasn't listening and taking it in. It's just like, you're frustrated with yourself because you made another mistake, and you're just like want to move forward. And you're like, I know. It's like, no, you don't. And so I thought that's funny that a Hall of Famer, Warren Sapp, basically had the same thing to say about our players. And I don't even know if he heard this or not, or if this is just some random advice he pulled out of nowhere. But he may have heard, maybe like Sam Mills was saying something, the defensive line coach, and somebody was like, "We got it," or "I got it." And it's like, no, the coach is there, seeing that you didn't get it right. Listen to what the coach is saying, and stop saying you got it, because clearly you don't. And if you look at last year, clearly you didn't. Right? So but anyway, to your point though, I did like the idea. It would have been nice to have, because we've had some good defensive line players in our past of Washington, and there was alumni there today, other different alumni. But yeah, no mention of Charles Mann or Dexter Manley or Bruce. Somebody mentioned the chat. Bruce Smith was obviously a sack leader, so it's interesting. But go ahead.
No, I was thinking. Hold on, let me get the train of thought back. That I can't remember who said it, but they said those players that are drafted into the NFL that think they have arrived when they get drafted, they don't understand. They're like, when you get into the NFL, you're just starting to learn.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a good player, every day you got to go out there with the attitude of I got to learn something new.
Right.
And there's so many players that think, hey, I'm in the NFL now. I got it. And it's like, nope, you're playing against the best of the best in college.
You're right.
And so I think it's to your point of, this you got it or I got it or whatever is no, you don't got it. And if you don't think you can, if you don't go in with the attitude, I can learn something new every day, you will not, you might make it in the NFL, but you're not going to be a good player. So that's my opinion.
Fair enough. I was trying to see if I could find who said it because they asked if Randy Johnson that played with Sapp. It may have been. I thought he said somebody was named Jeff, but
Randy Jordan. Not Johnson.
Oh, Randy Jordan. Sorry. Randy Johnson was the baseball player, right? Wasn't he?
Yeah,
the
he was
pitcher?
like a 6'7".
Yeah.
He's actually the one that hit a bird pitching.
Oh yeah, that's the famous video of where he pitched it and just blew that bird to pieces.
The bird happened to fly through at the wrong
time. yeah. Talk about the wrong time. Yeah, there was no more bird after that. That's funny. All right, well, let's go ahead and just put a pin or put a button or a bow on the Jack Del Rio stuff because it's definitely not really worth talking about too much anymore, especially with how Ron handled it. But basically, Ron, he handled it, and he fines Jack Del Rio $100,000. He had to apologize to the team. He also put out that public apology, but he said that Jack addressed the team, apologized, and also opened his door for anyone who wanted him to come in and speak. And, people were asked about it afterwards of the different players. And a lot of them just said, that's behind closed doors. That's how we're handling it. But Montez he said that Jack, he showed me nothing but love and respect to me, which I like to hear from the players and coaches. Cause Jack's coached a lot of different people throughout his time with a lot of different political views. And it's not like he hid this and it just came out that he's more right-wing or right-leaning, I should say, than a lot of people in the locker room. And he's had tremendous relationships with a ton of people. It's nice to hear that he was like, Montez is basically like, it doesn't matter what your political stuff, we disagree on things. It doesn't matter. As long as you show love and respect, then that's all I care about. And then the last thing is Jack deleted his own Twitter as far as he did it on his own. That was not a part of the team forcing him to. Ron was asked today about hey, was this a part of your, is that something that you told him to do? And he said, nope, that was what Jack did on his own. I thought that was mature and a good idea. Just Twitter's not a great place anyway.
I got the impression, according to what Ron was saying, is the apology, the open door, and all of that was all Jack's idea. He wasn't directed by Ron to do any of that. He basically said, you're representing the team. When it causes a distraction, I got to fine you. I'm fining you $100,000. And Jack's answer to that was delete the account, apologize to the team, come out and be very open about it. So that's the impression I got, that it wasn't necessarily any direction, which good for Jack that, as much BS as it may be, you got to do what you got to do because you're representing the team. And
and Ron said, it's not about the First Amendment. You could have any view. He talked about how he stood next to Eric Reed, the safety down there in Carolina that decided to kneel and have a protest after Colin Kaepernick did it. Eric Reed took up that mantle and he was like, I don't care about your freedom of speech as far as you can have your beliefs. And if you want to stand up for your beliefs, that's fine. But when it starts affecting the team and affecting it, becoming a big distraction, and then that's where we got to, put a stop to it. But go ahead.
No, I was just going to add that the First Amendment covers free speech and the government. It doesn't cover anything else. So if your employer, which the NFL is, says you can't say something, that's not a violation of free speech. It's the government cannot curtail anybody's right to say whatever they want. So it doesn't go beyond that. So just the same thing with the kneeling, and I'm not going to get into that other than to say it was all a matter people saying it was free speech. It's like, no, it's not a free speech. It's a workplace issue.
Right.
And the people you work for can say, don't do that. And it's not a violation of free speech. And anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. There is like the idea of obviously the First Amendment is a limitation on the federal government, but there's also the principle of free speech that some people would argue or whatnot. But but to your point, it's like you can't just go and spouting anything off at the workplace or doing whatever you want. Like that's their place of business and they control what goes on in that building. If you want to be in that building, you got to follow their rules. And if they came to your house, if they want to be in your house, they got to follow your rules. They have the freedom of speech, but if they go ahead and start talking about your wife or something, you're going to get out of my house quickly. Or maybe you won't get out of my house. Maybe we'll bury you in the basement. No, but,
right. But hey, Washington Command Center makes a good point. He said kneeling was on the clock. Jack was on Twitter, but optics are optics. Well, if your name is Joe Smith, you can be on Twitter and say stuff. But when your name is Jack Del Rio,
yeah. Well, I thought about this actually to your point, and I just want to, or to this point, I thought about this afterwards. Actually, I don't think he got fined for what happened on Twitter. What he got fined for was actually on the clock as a defensive coordinator press conference addressing the media about it, and in a lot of people's minds, downplaying what happened on January 6th, and that was on the clock in a Redskins polo or a Commander's polo or whatever, with the Commander's hat. So what he got fined for, like if it was just on Twitter, like if Jack came into that press conference and said, hey, that's what I talk about on my personal time. That's my personal Twitter. That's what I want to do.
Yep.
I want to, I'm not going to address that here. This is where we talk about football. I think if Jack would have said that and let things move forward, honestly, we may not be talking about $100,000 fine. So
I think that's a very good point. You make a very good point. Yep.
So it's not so much of just it was on Twitter. That's obviously what spurred it, but he then also continued to elaborate on company.
Well,
dime.
Jack's not known for being somebody that keeps his mouth shut or bites his tongue.
Yeah, bite these, as he said on Twitter. Yeah, exactly. Well, and also there could be the argument that did Jack actually shut down the stadium in Virginia? Did you hear about the day after all of the dust up? But
you can't say that. Tim, you have to apologize.
I wasn't talking about I wasn't talking about January 6th though. I was talking about what happened in Washington. Okay, actually, shoot. January 6th also happened in Washington. I'm going to shut up. Okay. So anyway, he may have shut down the stadium idea though. So it's interesting. So it could have affected the team in multiple different ways. So, but I thought Ron handled it well. I thought Ron handled it the right way. The only thing that me and you were talking about beforehand is that, hey, after you say your spiel, and then you say, we're going to only talk about football, then you should probably only talk about football because, you could have walked into your own problem with the Second Amendment, because that's a whole nother thing that people could disagree with, but it is what it is. But Mark has a question. Go ahead. Add and then I'll ask this question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say I have not read. I heard about the Virginia rescinding that day. I have not read anything about that. My personal opinion is I'd be hard pressed to think that it was Jack Del Rio's comments that actually, because the county that they're going to move into is going to make a lot of money by having this whole, because he's going to do the whole experience, which is what your Uncle Rob has always said they should have had in Largo. But I'm hard pressed to believe that, but I have not read enough to be able to say it. But go ahead, answer the question.
Yeah. So Mark wants to know who is our most likely team that will go from first to last in their division. So let me pull up the 2021. Yeah, 2021.
Wait. You're reading that. He's saying worst to first.
I say first to worst. I meant worst to first. Thank you
for
correcting
me. Just to make
sure. I was pulling up the thing. So who's the team that's most likely to go from worst to first? And here's the worst teams. We got the Jets, the Broncos, the Ravens, the Jaguars, the Giants, the Seahawks, the Lions, and the Panthers.
So the Browns are not in that discussion.
No, Browns came in third in there. They were actually tied for last with 8-9 record, but they beat them on the tiebreaker.
I personally think, and I think we had this conversation last week. Somebody asked me that question: who do I think is going to be the surprise team? I think the Browns are going to make the biggest turnaround with
Deshaun Watson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time with names today, but so out of all those teams, don't think it's going to be the Jaguars. The Ravens always, and look, I'm a Maryland born and raised.
Yeah.
And I don't know if everybody here understands the Maryland, Washington Redskin, Baltimore Ravens rivalry, but something tells me it's going to be the Ravens because I hate them, and that's the one team I don't want to do well.
Right. Not to get political, but you talk about the fake news and stuff. The comments here. If you actually look into it, no cops died directly from what happened in January 6th. There was 2 cops that died for suicide like a week after. There was one that died of a stroke or like a heart attack the next morning. It was not on January 6th. There's only 2 people that actually died on January 6th from direct actions, and that was the lady that got shot by the Capitol Police officer, and another one got trampled by the crowd. So there was actually 2 people that passed away, but none of the Capitol Police officers actually lost their lives due to like people actually. It's just a fact of the matter. I mean, you could go look at it up. It is what it is. I don't think that January 6th was the good thing, and I'm not a supporter of January 6th. And
I think that's very important.
Yeah,
you can have a discussion.
Yeah,
you can have a discussion, but you have to have a discussion based on what actually happened.
Yeah.
So pointing out that no cops died as a result of the riots is important to have that conversation.
And I'm sure there's a lot of police officers that got hurt because there was definitely fighting, definitely throwing things. There was mace. There was a lot of things going on. But as far like, I'm just anyway. You know what? I just wanted to make sure that the facts are the facts. I guess it is what it is. So it is what it is. Okay. All right. To move forward. All right. So. Oh, I didn't answer the question.
I'm sorry. I have to say, Bodhisattva, I'm not downplaying anything. I'm just saying, deal with the facts.
Yeah. Exactly.
If you want to say people died, fine. But you said cops died. Cops didn't die.
To that,
you're wrong.
Is what it is.
Anyway. Sorry, I don't like
parsing how folks are dead is silly. Well, it's. I mean, if you say like, okay. 1 million people died because of 9/11, and then you're like, and then you start talking about how like 1 million people died that day, and some of them died in South Africa, and some of them died like or whatever, like, and then you're like, oh well, parsing people how people died the day of 9/11. It's like no, 3,000 some odd people died that day due to the direct actions, but we're not going to talk about the rest. Like that's what I'm saying anyway. So, like parsing how they died is. It's kind of a weird way to put it when
I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't get the term parsing. Did they die?
Anyway, as I said, I'm sorry. I shouldn't even got into this. As I said, we're not going to get into the politics, and we're not going to continue to like harp on it. But it is what it is. And Jack got fined, deleted his Twitter, which I think is a good thing. He should not have a Twitter because he's not helping anybody. So we're deleting his Twitter. The team addressed it. He gave an opportunity for the players to talk to him about it. He's handled it, seemed like matured since then. And we're going to move on to Terry did not come to minicamp.
I'm shocked.
And it is interesting because Ron said that he thought that he expected him to be there. And that was the reports is they expected him to be there because it is mandatory. And it seemed like, okay, Terry's going to come, but absolutely did not. He has not been there. The training camp started yesterday, or mini camp rather, started yesterday, and he did not come. And it's interesting, but Ron did say in his press conference, we're not going anywhere and ain't trading Terry. But with Terry missing minicamp now, or at least the start of it, do you think it's likely that he still stays? Still likely he still stays, or do you think he will move forward?
Well, I'm afraid to say that I think that he's, and I'm not faulting, I'm simply dealing in the facts.
Oh, shoot. You know what? I still didn't answer the question. All right. My answer is the Broncos. Sorry. Broncos is most likely going to worse the first. They got a brand new quarterback. They have a lot of talent over there. They're an extremely tough division, but they're the most likely to go from worst to first. All right. Sorry. I didn't.
And I said the Ravens, so I did
you
answer
said the Ravens.
question.
Okay. So there we go.
I tried to cover for you, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But
so there's my answer.
All right. Anyway, sorry. Get me back on track.
Yeah. Getting back to Terry.
Yeah. My opinion, he's not going to sign early. He's going to go to free agency. He's going to get as much money as he can. And whether or not he plays for the Commanders, that remains to be seen. But he is not going to sell or settle early. And he's not going to be involved in anything that can get him hurt other than games. So I would love for them to come together, but unless they offer, what did we talk about before, 28?
I think it was like 25, 26 is like the ballpark they should be in, because A.J. Brown, a guy that got drafted in the second round the same year he did, got $25 million a year from the Eagles. So we're looking in that 25, 26 range, probably just above him. They're very comparable as far as if you look at the stats and everything. If you look at where they were drafted, I think Terry's better, but A.J. Brown is not a receiver to be scoffed at. He's a legit wide receiver in the league. So I think there definitely is. Those two can be compared, and that's where we should be in the money. But
by the way, Bodhisattva, I don't know. Do you know of any contracts offered to? I haven't heard any numbers.
Yeah, nobody has heard any numbers as far as nothing has been reported of what was been offered, and I would love to know that information. If anybody finds that information, please put it in the Discord immediately or comment below on this video. I get those comments notifications as well. So please let us know as soon as you hear anything of what is being reported as far as contract talks, because I am still so curious, and we'll probably move to some other things, but I'm still so curious of, is it the team that's asking for too much money, or is it the player that's asking for too much money, or is the team not offering enough money? I'm still curious.
I did want to add this, and not to go down the Kirk Cousins thing, other than to point this out, that I don't think Kirk wanted to play for the Redskins. They lowballed him, or basically threw out an offer. They never responded, which to me, if he wanted to play, if they were here, then he should have thrown an offer back out over here. But him and his agent did not do that, because they did not want to play
in Washington
for the Redskins. I don't think Terry's at that point, but Terry's going to get what Terry can get. And I'm not hating on him for it. I'm just saying he's not going to sign early. Right. He's not going to accept anything unless the Redskins come back with a blockbuster deal, which I don't think they're going to, but he's not going to sign early. He's going to test the market and see. And you know what's going to happen? I'll even go this much further. Next year, when his contract's up, they're going to franchise tag him. And we've talked about that as the death knell. If they franchise tag him, he's done.
Oh, it's done if he doesn't sign this year. It's done. I think that I do think it's either he signs here or he gets traded this year. I don't think there's an in-between, because I don't think Terry is playing without guaranteed money. Because as Bod says, it's 100%. It's the issue of guaranteed money and signing bonus. And I completely agree, where he is not going to play on like a $3 million cap hit this year.
Yeah, but he's under contract. See, this is the whole thing that always amuses me in the NFL is the term contract. Yeah. And look, they both sides play it both ways, but he's under contract for another year. If he sits out and doesn't play, And of course, I'd say, well, other teams want him. Of course they will.
Yeah.
But he's under contract for another year. So if he doesn't play, and I'm not saying it won't happen,
Right. But I think that those are the two options personally. And, it's not even about Terry being a bad guy or anything. I don't think he is at all. I think he's
no,
great.
no. It's getting money.
It would not be intelligent for him to play on 3 years, right? Like it was fine for Kirk to play on the franchise tag. He was getting paid $20 million, right? And then the next year it was fine for him. He was getting paid $24 million, fully guaranteed. If he got hurt game one, he was getting all of that $20 million and all of the $24 million, not necessarily at the same time, but like if he got hurt on day one of either one of those years, he was getting all of that money. The contract he has now is only $3 million at the high end, right? And I don't think all of it's guaranteed. It might be. I could be wrong about that, but even if it was, it's only $3 million. And we're talking about the difference of, because if he would have signed the contract with us, he was only going to get like $40 or $50 million guaranteed. So the difference between 20 million and 40 and 50 million is obviously double, and it's significant. But when you're really looking at it, it's like I could live on 20 million the rest of my life pretty easily if that's what happens. Also, quarterbacks play a whole lot longer. So even if I did get hurt this year, I could have time to come back, and I'm only 27, 28 years old at that time. I could come back at 30 and still play 10 more years. Where a receiver, if he gets hurt this year, he's going to be 28, and the receivers over 30, typically, of course, there's the exceptions, like your Larry Fitzgeralds, like your Jerry Rices, whatever. But typically, receivers definitely plummet after 30 years old.
All right, but let me clarify something here in my understanding. And I have to say the Redskins because Commanders does not roll off my tongue. It just doesn't. But they cannot pay him more money this year. He is on a rookie contract. They set this up for 5 years. So Terry's not going to make any more than $3 million or whatever the number is this year. That's the max he can make. So if the Redskins guarantee him a 5-year deal at $25 million a year or $20 million a year and say, we guarantee you $100 million over the next 5 years, if he turns that down and doesn't play, and he doesn't play this year, or even if they guarantee him $80 million, it's like, dude, you're set for life.
Yeah.
As long as you don't pull a Mike Tyson and start buying tigers and boats. People can piss away, $100 million pretty quickly. I've seen it. But
did Teddy Bridgewater's injury derail his career? Well, Teddy Bridgewater still got 3 different teams to start on. And he just didn't make the most of them. He's a game manager, and he didn't really do anything with those opportunities. So even as a quarterback that got derailed because of an injury, he still had 3 more opportunities. The Saints started him 8 games. And he could have been the starter after Drew Brees retired. Then he went to Carolina, was given the keys to the kingdom, and then he got traded away. And then Denver, he was able to start over Drew Lock, which obviously everybody knows here, I would have loved to see that happen, Drew Lock start. But he got 3 more opportunities. So, the quarterbacks will get more opportunities when you're on your rookie deal or on a franchise tag to, even if you get hurt, to try to go for that monster deal like Kirk Cousins has gotten. I mean, you can't argue that Kirk Cousins didn't do the best for Kirk as far as money-wise, because good night. The guy's made over $200 million. All of it fully guaranteed as a guy that could barely get to the playoffs. So good for him. But
and hold on. Bodhisattva, I'm still a Steely Dan fan, so I say Bodhisattva, I just can't help it. But can they do that? Can the Redskins or the Commanders pay him to do commercials and then never air them? And I don't think they can do that. I think that's right, or can they? It's an honest question. I don't know. But basically, his point is, pay him to make a series of commercials. Pay him $10 million to make a series of commercials.
Kirk Cousins. It was a Roger sleeping agent for Kirk Cousins. No, that's funny. But I don't know if like there's because I don't think that teams pay them for commercials? I thought that would be like another company paying you for commercials.
Well,
Like
and
if
that's
you're
what his
doing a
point
Papa
is.
John's commercial, then Papa John's is going to pay you
No, and I
for.
think that's his point is Dan has more than one company, so maybe, but I still think, and maybe you can do that, but I still think the NFL is going to have a problem with you trying to get around the salary cap
Dan
by,
has more than one company. Oh,
yeah, but like I
okay.
said, do you think that if Dan owns company B and said,
John looks like
oh,
he's been working on his quads. Look at them. That leg. Get your
you me?
feet. I
I
don't
just
know.
been,
I think actually you're not allowed to put your feet on live stream.
all right, sorry.
I'm actually dead serious. I think that's like against the rules. It's kind of funny. Not
All
that
right,
I'm like,
sorry. I was
yeah.
getting comfortable. I'm in Florida. I'm in shorts, so.
I don't think you can put bare feet on live stream. I might be making that up in my head because I've never thought about putting my feet on
Or
live
you
stream.
just don't want, or you just don't want to see my feet. I get it. I'm
I mean,
sorry. I got.
that's an obvious one. That's just duh. But no, that's funny. But anyway, all right. So we could go back and forth on the. I was saying, okay, let me just finish this thought. I think the options are Terry plays here or Terry gets traded. I think those are the two options. I don't think he plays on this $3 million deal. But saying that, I think it's like 95% chance he gets signed. Like, I think it's very unlikely that he goes anywhere else.
So you think 25? Let's just throw out a number. You think 25 million for 4 years guaranteed gets him, or 75%? What do you think the Redskins are going to have to offer him to get him to stay?
I think that it has to be at least 25 million a year and in the 75 to 80 million guaranteed on 4 years.
And
A
he's
4-year
really
extension.
27. Has he been around that long?
No, he came out of college at like 23.
Oh, okay. So
He was an older prospect coming out.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
So
I think that,
a red shirt freshman, and that one he
yeah.
started without actually being 18.
Well, he was drafted to be a special teamer here. Like Ron was talking, not Ron, Jay Gruden at the time was talking about how great of a gunner he is on special teams. Like he was a third round pick, and he just came onto the scenes in training camp and preseason. Well, we didn't even play him in the preseason. They kept him under wraps. They were like, nah, we don't want anybody to know. And then he had a big game against Philly the first day he came out. He should have had 2 touchdowns, like over 60-yard bombs, but Case Keenum overthrew him on one of them. But he had a big day on his rookie debut. So, and then he's been great ever since. But I think 25 million is the minimum with 75 to 80. And you may get a little bit north of that with 25 and a half, 26 million ish. I think it's going to be a 4-year deal though. I think 4 years is the magic number. Since he is 27, he has 1 more year. So next year will be 28. So he'd be under contract until he's 32. I don't think they're going to make it until under 33 personally. So I think 32 would be the 4-year
And
deal.
do you think it's unusual that we haven't heard any numbers or anything in negotiations? I mean, I know with
think it's
Kirk.
weird?
Yeah, I mean, I know with Kirk that we kept hearing they offered this, but and Kirk's
Yeah, well, you know why, right? Because Bruce Allen was leaking it. Bruce Allen was a politician that would leak stuff.
Oh, trying to sell the fans that we're trying to do over there.
And it's like, and I think Bruce Allen was the snake because notice Bruce Allen left, and how much stuff are we getting out of camp or out of like?
Yeah, you're not hearing much at all.
Yeah, right. Like we had no clue Jahan Dotson was the pick, right? We heard Chris Olave, we heard Garrett Wilson, we heard Drake London.
That's a good point.
We heard Kyle Hamilton. Nobody thought we were trading back to go for Jahan Dotson, right? Or Fedarian Mathis in the second, or even Brian Robinson in the third. Actually, we may have brought. No, I don't. Did we bring Brian Robinson in? I can't remember now. We definitely didn't even bring in Jahan and Fedarian. So I think that it's just a new era that Ron is the GM and Ron doesn't give info like that.
Yep.
And you can
By the way,
how he talked about Jack. But go ahead.
Yep. By the way, Washington Command Center, I just want to throw a little tidbit out there that I worked in Virginia in the early 90s, and I went into a McDonald's and was standing in line, and the line next to me was Charles Mann and his daughter, and he was ordering her a Happy Meal. And I thought it was, I mean, you had this beast of a guy and this tiny little like 4-year-old girl, and he comes up and he goes, "Can I get a Happy Meal, please?" And I didn't
That's
say
awesome.
anything to him, but it was like I knew it was Charles Mann, and it was hilarious
That's
because
awesome.
as big as he was, that little girl wanted a Happy Meal, and he was like, "I'm taking her to get a Happy Meal."
Do you find it worrisome that Terry is not here in minicamp? Do you think he should be here, like as far as like getting ready for the season and getting more reps with Carson Wentz and all that kind of stuff as a new quarterback? Do you find it worrisome at all that he is not here, or do you think it's no
Yes.
big deal?
No, I do. This is what bothers me is
Uh-huh.
okay, if he doesn't want to get injured, it's mandatory. He should be there. If he wanted to play here, he should be there and say, I'm not going on the field because I'm not risking injury, but I'm here to support the team and I'm here to do whatever, we'll go to the whatever you call them, the sessions in the video room. I'm trying to
Film
the game
sessions?
film. Yeah, game film. Thank you.
Yeah.
And okay, you don't want to go out in the field and you don't want to get hurt. I get that. But he should be there and he should be there to support his other players and, like you said, game film and all that. The fact that he doesn't even show up, what does he think they're going to force him to go out on the field and work out? He could say, I'm not working out or I'm not going out there and doing anything in drills.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a little worrisome, but my gut, and I hope I'm wrong on this, but my gut is this is going to go the distance. Terry's going to hold out. It's going to go through. Maybe they come to something, but he's waiting for that blockbuster deal that I don't think the Redskins are going to give him. And therefore, I think he's going to hold out until he becomes a free agent.
I completely disagree with everything you said. I think it's zero problems with him coming in. And guess what? Ron doesn't care either, okay? And
well, what's he gonna? Tim, wait a minute. Wait. You can give me your opinion.
No. It's not about Ron saying directly, "I don't care if Terry's not here." I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about what is going on the rest of the way. Curtis Samuel being out for like missing practice for over precaution. If it was so important for the receiver to get time with the quarterback, then why are you leaving him out of practice? Right? Or Ron was also asked about the linebacker position, right? And he was basically, he's like, hey, haven't you brought in a linebacker? And he essentially said, a veteran linebacker doesn't need to be here. I wanted to bring in younger linebackers to get them in, get them working, get in the playbook. We have a few guys that we want to see. He said 3 specifically, but he didn't say, he wouldn't name them. But he said 3 guys that are young linebackers that we would like to see. And so, sorry, let me block him. But there's 3 linebackers that we would like to see. And then basically he's saying that this time it doesn't matter for a vet. If you're a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old vet, I don't care if you're here at minicamp, essentially. Like, yeah, I want you here for camaraderie. I want you here to build relationships with your teammates. And I want you here, like, to also get work in to make so I can see that you're working out. But when you have a guy like a professional like Terry, he doesn't have worry that Terry's not working out. He doesn't think that he knows Terry's not going to come in. If he came in week 1 of the season, right? God forbid. But if he came in week 1 of the season, he knows that Terry is going to come in here in game shape and ready to go.
Okay, I just have one question.
Yeah.
Why do they call it mandatory?
Why do they call? Well, because they have to be there. They have to go.
Well, apparently Terry doesn't.
Oh,
Terry not going is they call it mandatory.
If you don't come, you get fined. But what happens usually is when there's a player in contract dispute, they waive the fine as the deal gets done, and basically say, all right, we accept what's going on here. This is the contract we agreed to. Now you have to come, and now if you don't come, fines will start being applied, but they usually waive them. So as of right now, I don't know the numbers. I want to say it's like $50,000 or something like that Terry is fined something like $50,000 for not showing up to practice, but typically that never happens in these kind of scenarios. They usually just let it go for like whatever the case may be. Like, if they had to also, like, if you miss for family issues, or if you miss for this, miss for that, whatever, they basically treat it as one of those situations. Like, all right, we understand you wanted the contract, we're going to move forward. And that's that. So I think that Ron doesn't care. Most people know that this doesn't matter, because also you got to think about it the other way around. When you start hearing guys are slicing up minicamp and doing so great in minicamp,
right?
How often does that turn out to be nothing? Like irrelevant stuff, right? So as long as Terry comes in shape, ready to go, it's all good. Terry being here means nothing. Terry's a guy that doesn't need chemistry. Just throw the ball anywhere and he'll figure it out. There you go.
All right.
Yes.
I follow that, but let's go. Let's play this out.
Yes.
So I understand what you're saying is when they get to a deal, they'll waive the fines. But let's say Terry goes through all this preseason mini camps without playing, without reaching a deal. So they're holding back money out of his paycheck.
Yeah.
See, I think if you're that good, and that's only going to piss him off. So if you're really worried about coming to an agreement with a premier receiver like Terry, then you not sending him his full paycheck, going, well, you didn't show up here, here's a $50,000 fine or whatever it is, that's going to harden him to. So all I'm saying is maybe when it's a premier guy or a tier 1 guy, that maybe you say, hey, at the end of the season, if we don't come to an agreement, then you owe us this much money back or whatever. I know you can't expect them to pay it back, but you get my point. It's like if he's supposed to get $100,000 and you're giving $50,000, just throwing out numbers, then he's going to get pissed off. And now he's going to be like, oh, you're going to do that? Now you're going to pay me $28 million a year.
Well, here's an example of the kind of thing that what happened is Antonio Brown missed practice. I don't remember if it was mini camp or training camp or whatever. Antonio Brown, though, missed practice when he was at the Raiders because he went into, I don't know if you would call it like a what do you call the word that wants to come to mind is hyperbolic, but it's not hyperbolic. It's
I know what you're talking about. The chamber with the water.
Whatever you call
hyperbolic.
That. I know it's not. I know hyperbole. I know what that means, but I'm like, whatever the real word is supposed to be. But anyway, you get what I'm trying to say.
It's not hyperbolic.
Maybe it's hyperbolic. No, hyperbole, not hyperbolic, right? I don't know.
Here, hold on. Keep going. I'm going to look it up.
Whatever that chamber is, he ended up giving himself frostbite.
Yes.
On his feet.
I remember that. Yep.
And he missed practice, and he got fined for missing practice because it was outside of whatever the hyperbaric. It's baric.
Yes.
Not bolic. Baric. Hyperbaric chamber. Thank you. Anyway, so
see, we got such a good audience here. They keep us straight.
High IQ individuals. But anyway, he froze his foot and then he got fined, and it did upset him to the nth degree where he almost got in a fight with the general manager on the field. Mayock, whatever his name, Mike Mayock was the general manager at the time, and he almost got in a fight, a physical altercation, and that's why they ended up cutting him, and he went to the Patriots, and then, the whole nine, whatever it is. But that's a situation where, yes, they actually did go through with the fines to a premier player, and it absolutely set him off. And so typically, as long as you have a legitimate excuse, you get that money back, and very seldom does a professional athlete miss practice without an excuse. Right. And if it is a bad excuse, they know they messed up. Like if they got wasted the day before, overslept their alarm, and didn't get to practice on time, they know a fine is coming and they don't argue about it. Something like that.
The Giants on the party boat.
Yeah, exactly. So typically. All right. Well, we got about 5 minutes left. So we're gonna put these topics in a little here, rapid fire. We both got to get going. We're gonna get packing. He's going to Ohio. He told you about that. I'm going to Maine for another wedding. So I got a funeral and a wedding in the same week.
Isn't that like two of the same things? Sorry.
You know what? All I'm going to say is funerals need rehearsals. Okay. You need to have a rehearsal the day before on the funeral because, when you have too many cooks in the kitchen making decisions of like, hey, you go here, you do this, you stay, you don't, this, that, move here. There was some unorganized stuff going on because when the Pop had 8 kids, 6 of them are alive, and at least 4 of them, maybe 5, had opinions.
All right,
on
you
what
want to
should
know
be
what the
going down.
difference is, Tim?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were not taking a video of the funeral.
I don't think so. I could
So
be
a wedding, you're taking a video, so they want everything to be just perfect. A funeral, nobody really cares.
fair enough. But anyway.
All right, rapid fire. Let's do it.
All right. So Logan revealed his full extent of his injuries. It was actually an ACL, MCL, and both meniscus teared. He's up to a 75% run. We are 2 months.
Was his leg doing?
Yeah. You know what's funny is at the time, like everybody was like, "Oh, he'll be back in 2 weeks." Like apparently they had to go in for surgery and confirm this. Like they had a game plan, Logan said, but they didn't even realize the extent of it. Even the doctors, I guess it may have been too swollen, I guess, or whatever. But he's up to 75% run. Does Logan make it week 1? We're 2 months away from
without any setbacks, meaning if he's out running and does something to tweak something, I think he's going to be fine.
All right. I agree. I think he will be for week 1 as well. So we're on the same page there. Logan spoke about AGG moving to tight end. Ron talked about he got up to like 238 pounds. He's like 232 now, but he doesn't seem like he wants to put on a bunch of weight. I was a tight end that moved, or a player that was a basketball player moved to tight end. Blocking is extremely difficult to learn. Do you think AGG makes this team as a wide receiver converting to tight end?
Depends on what happens with Logan.
True.
Right? I mean, that's a good question. I think it's possible. I like his hands. I like him as a player, but I don't know.
I say no. I don't think he does.
Yeah.
Because we have Logan, who I think is going to be back by week 1. We have John Bates that we drafted. We have Cole Turner that we drafted. And then there's 2 interesting actual guys there's one interesting actual dude that played tight end also, but you also have Amani Rogers. I'm going to say no. I think we end up only keeping 3. Oh, and also Samus Reyes. So the project guy from the international program. So I say no. AGG does not make this team moving to tight end. All right, Curtis.
So wait, hold on. Do you think AGG makes the team?
No, I think AGG's gone.
Okay, all right.
I think
AGG
go ahead. Is move along. Out of here. All right, Curtis Samuel is really being protected. Okay, should we be concerned that the estimated recovery time for a groin injury, even when it needs surgery, so a complete tear, is 3 months, and a severe strain on a groin is 6 weeks. We are now 6 months since the last time we played, and we're still talking about being overly cautious with Curtis Samuel. Should we be worried about
Well,
Curtis
and I thought it was interesting that Ron Rivera was talking about how slick the field was. Then he caught himself, and he goes, so we're concerned about a safety, as we are with all the other players. I don't know. I think something's up. I don't know what it is, but I mean, what do you feel like? I think that's weird. So
I'm concerned, okay? And I haven't been concerned for a while. I've been saying, with the full, I felt like we were trying to rush him back too quickly from the groin, and it ended up just keep getting retweaked. But so I was like, you know what? With the full offseason, I feel like he'll be fine. But now here we are, June 15th, and we're still being overly precautious. We haven't seen him play since December 12th. Over 6 months ago was the last time we seen him on the field, and we're still talking about how we are concerned about him. So I am This does concern me. I feel like Curtis by now should be a full go. Like, I don't feel like we should be talking about Curtis's injury anymore. It's a groin injury. Yeah, it stinks when you have it, but this should not be such a long recovery that Logan Thomas's ACL, MCL, both meniscus makes complete sense that he is still working on things. But
so you think he's
this
milking
is
it?
ridiculous. I don't know if it's him or I don't think so. I don't think it's him milking it. I just think that this is very odd that it keeps rearing its head at this point. Like, I feel like this should be taken care of. Soft tissue issues with the lower body don't go away during the season. Yeah, exactly. And I was fine. I understood during the season when we're trying to force him back too quickly that it keeps lingering. I get that. But now we are 6 months away since the last time. Typically, this injury only lasts 3 months, even if you tore it and needed surgery. So, I don't know.
And if you remember my situation at the Thanksgiving kickball tournament when I basically blew out my groin.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm in my 50s, so it's a little bit different than Curtis.
Yeah.
But it wasn't right. I mean, for a long time, if I stepped the wrong way or did something, I could retweak it very easily. But again, you're not talking about somebody in their 20s.
That's a premier athlete.
Yeah.
27 years old.
Wait, what are you saying? I'm not a premier athlete? Oh, I'm hurt.
You're premier, that's for sure. We'll find out in one day, but you're definitely premier. But okay, no, I'm concerned about it. So just to put a bow on it, are you concerned? Just yes or no?
Yeah, I think there's something up.
For sure. All right, lastly, Diami and Jamin both revealed they were not confident in year one. And both said it was a humbling experience, year one in the NFL. And Jamin, when asked what has he improved on the most, he mentioned play speed, which I completely agree with. Do you find it a bit concerning that with personalities of guys that aren't, I guess, just naturally confident in that way, they can just walk into a locker room and whatnot. Do you think that this confidence thing is going to be a lingering problem, like with Jamin and Diami, two guys that we drafted last draft, not this past one, but the draft before? Do you think that's something that we should be worried about? Or do you think that with time, confidence comes and they'll be fine year 2, 3, 4 and on?
No, I think I go back to what Warren Sapp said that you covered in the first segment, that I would rather hear guys going, all right, I was humbled. Mm-hmm. I lack confidence. I would like to think that translates into them working their butts off and practicing 110% because they realized, wow, I'm playing with the elite and I was a step short. And the fact that they were honest about it. Now, granted, this could be a cover for, if they weren't going to work on it, that, oh wow, I can't cut it. But yeah. I would rather hear that from these people than guys that didn't play very well going, yeah, I'm the greatest ever. So I'm not worried about it at all.
Yeah. It's interesting to me because, like, I'm definitely probably one of these guys that when I go into some new situation, I'm definitely not a very confident person. Like, if I'm not familiar with what's going on, right? Like, I think about when I first went to a construction site. I work construction now for about 6 years. When I first went to a construction site, it's like I'm completely out of my element. I'm not familiar with what's going on. I don't know. And my confidence completely lacked in me explaining what my job is and trying to explain to a customer why I can't do it or this, that, whatever. But now with experience, like, I'm completely fine with what's going on. But I also don't do a job of, if I don't do it right, I'm on TV with millions and millions of people to watch, watch me mess up.
Nor is anybody interviewing you after your day's work going, yeah. So Tim, how did you feel on the construction site today? What was there anything that,
Yeah.
So yeah, you're not doing
Yeah. So obviously, like, I've gotten over it with my time, but yeah, it's all I'm going to say is these kind of guys need those words of affirmation, right? Like the coaches, because we're talking about a first-round pick and a third-round pick. Two pretty much premier picks here, right? Like anywhere third round, day one, day two guys need to be contributors. And if they're lacking confidence, you have to be able to bring them along, give them words of affirmation, and make sure that these guys are feeling as comfortable as humanly possible in their own skin and out there. But it does concern me a little bit with the lack of confidence, because I would rather see a guy that's really confident. And as Bod says, I find it pretty odd. Most players make it to the NFL are 1% alpha dogs. And yeah, it's like I would find it a bit concerning because they've also been playing football their whole life, where I'm also talking about I never was on a construction site before. Right? Like, but if I was on a construction site from 6 years old, like most of these guys were playing football, that would probably be a lot different, even if I was doing a new job on the construction site, right? Something I'm not familiar with. But
yeah, but the NFL is at a level. I always go back to what Darryl Green said. Mm-hmm. He goes, in my neighborhood, I was the fastest kid. In my elementary school, I was the fastest kid. In my high school, I was the fastest kid. In my college, I was the fastest kid. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't till I got to the NFL that I was the fastest kid that I thought I accomplished anything. So it's an elite level, and I would rather have people be honest.
Yeah, and it was honest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's my thought.
I'm not putting a fork in them. Let me just say that I'm not putting a fork in them and saying they're done. But it's interesting because, and I hope that Jamin is telling the truth, that his play speed is up, because I saw it. I mean, it's like this dude was stuck in mud. And this guy's a sub 4.4 speed kind of a dude. Like, this guy has athleticism through the roof, 6'3", 235 pounds, can move with the best of them. And you would have thought I was out there. I mean, that's how horribly slow he is. Like, occasionally he had some plays here and there, but for a lot of the season, it was just really ugly. But it is what it is. If you guys didn't want to see naked HD, they might want to go away. Yeah, if you were clicking on it, Red Wings, Stream Bots Action Thursday. Red Wings, I see you. You're clicking on it. Bringing them back. Right? No, that's funny.
Hey, I always say, apparently you've gotten to the point where you've made it where, because when we first did this, what are we at, like 30? What's our number of weeks? 50?
We're doing 59 weeks, yeah.
So it took them like 52 weeks to finally get here, or 54 weeks. So you've graduated, or you've made it.
Yeah.
You've made it to the NFL of streaming.
Fair enough. Of the NFL of streaming. That's right. I had Jamin as a third rounder because he gets stuck in his head. Like, you could see him thinking, and that sucks. That's not good. That's not good. I'm all about load. Oh, geez. Okay. I don't even know what I was about to read, and I'm not going to read it anymore. But anyway, all right. Well, that's what I had for the show. So we will not be here next, or at least Dad won't. It's up in the air if I will be. I might bring somebody on. We'll see. And we'll go from there. But thank you, everybody who stopped on by, bought us 5 foot Mark Kearns, watched the Command Center Red Wings. Who else we got here?
Great comments as always. Love the chat area.
I got mad at Jarris yesterday. So it is what it is. I'm sure we'll reconcile eventually. I just got upset. Anthony, AJ in the house. Whatever, AJ. I'm excited about Gibby and Robinson. They're going to be thunder and lightning. We'll see. I mean, I'm not super excited about Brian Robinson yet. I'm hopeful, I guess, because he is a skin now, and I want him to succeed. But it's just tough because I don't know. I feel like people are overhyping him more than what he actually said. Bring on Jarris, maybe. We'll see. We got to reconcile.
He's
stay
got
away
big
from the
shoes
River
to
Den.
fill without me here.
It will be moving. Oh, yeah, I heard. Did you hear about the flood in Yellowstone?
I did not.
I heard Gary was telling me about it today. My Uncle Gary. Apparently, like, a big river up there flooded horribly, and there's some towns that are completely cut off now because the river's flooded and just wiped out the roads. that were
Wow.
near the rivers. So good luck. All right. Well, you drive safe. I will hopefully drive safe. Thank you, everybody in the chat. It was a lot of fun as usual.
Yep. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Thanks for hanging out. Love you guys.
Awesome. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the video if you would like, please. There's the Discord link in the description below. Also, you can support the channel with the links below or with the support button if you'd like to donate. I appreciate that too. And thank you, everybody. And until next time, see you.